Hi, I'm Mark of Crown & Caliber, and welcome to Hidden Gems. You may notice by the title that we're doing Grand Seiko again, but not the spring drive. We've done that one. This is about the other side of Grand Seiko that makes them so important, and that's their mechanical movements. And specifically, we're looking at the Grand Seiko 9S movement. So let's get into it. First, the history. Seiko founded Grand Seiko and originally as an internal competition, King Seiko, to see which one of these sides could create the best, most accurate movement. And Grand Seiko won. And what Grand Seiko did was create a chronometer grade movement that was ready for observatory trials. And in '68, at the Geneva Observatory Trials, Grand Seiko took 4th through 10th place. And why that's important is because the top 3 were Beta 21 quartz movements. So the top 7 mechanical movements in the Swiss Geneva Observatory Trials were Japanese. And the Swiss did what the Swiss do. To make sure that they weren't upstaged, they ended the trials forever. That was that. This happened at a time when quartz was becoming the big thing anyways. Seiko themselves was moving into quartz, and quartz became the movement of the day. But in the 90s, we have the groundswell of mechanical movements coming back. People are starting to care about the performance, and they care about the art of watchmaking. So in response to this, Grand Seiko comes back, and this time with a new family of movements meant to do the exact same thing the first ones did, which was compete against the Swiss in every way. And that's why they introduced, in 1998, the 9S movement family. So the 9S movement family, and what does it entail? It's their, to overuse a phrase, workhorse movement. Generally, we think of cost certification as the standard for a Swiss. +6, -4 seconds, temperature tested for 2 weeks with a uncased movement. If it does that, passes the test, it's chronometer certified. That means the Swiss think it's a heck of a watch, and they're right. It is not easy to do that, but Grand Seiko takes everything they do and turns it up to 11. They do +6, -4, we'll do +5, -3. They test it in 5 positions, we'll test it in 6 positions. They put it through heat and cold test, we'll put it through an extra heat and cold test. They made sure everything the Swiss do to be chronometer certified, they took it a step further. They made it just that much better so that the performance was there to go up against whoever you wanted to put them up against. So the 9S is the base movement, and in that family, they have the standard movement with date, they have a high beat movement, which makes them the only company besides Zenith that makes a high beat movement as just part of the regular lineup. That's a movement that goes over 36,000 beats per hour and is harder on the watch, but it makes it more accurate. With that movement and family, I want to talk about something that gets thrown around a lot, which is in-house movement or manufactured movement. And that line's a little fuzzy. There are manufacturers who do 95% of in-house, like Glasuta Original or Rolex. But most, when they say in-house, they mean a good amount of it. In fact, to be a Swiss manufactured movement, the movement only has to have 60% of its value be Swiss, which can even come from just the value of a Swiss watchmaker putting it together. That is not what Grand Seiko does. They are the only one that is 100% every single piece of this watch manufactured, engineered, in-house. And that includes, they make their own hairspring from their own alloy that is not shared by the Swiss or anyone else. They grow their own sapphire crystals in which to use in their watches. That is a level that nobody does. Even when you talk about the Grubel Forsey handmade one, $1 million watch, the entire point was it was all handmade. They didn't grow their own sapphire. So we have great engineering, in-house manufacturing, high tolerance performance. And then there's the other thing that Grand Seiko is known for, their finishing. The quality of Ziratsu polishing on these watches is incredible. Yes, you can get something that is just as good as this movement. You can get something that is polished to this level from the Swiss or the Germans, but it's going to come with a Geneva seal. It's going to come with a price tag that has an extra zero at the end at least. And yes, these are luxury watches. They're not cheap at any level, but for about $5,000 on your average Grand Seiko, you're getting a watch that I think you'd honestly have to start comparing to Rolex Datejust. There are thousands more, or Geneva Seal watches, which start in about the 15,000 mark. One of the things Grand Seiko does is make a lot of different limited editions. And for their 20th anniversary of the 9S movement in 2018, they came out with 7 different versions. One of them has become Instagram famous, the SBGH267, known as the Blue Whirlpool. It's a beautiful watch and goes for over double what it retailed for. But if you want to talk about a watch that flies under the radar, looks very much like that watch, but trades for about what it went for in retail, to me, it's the SBGR 311. This watch isn't as famous as its Blue Whirlpool counterpart. It has a dial that I want to call it root beer, but if I did, I'd probably get a cease and desist from Switzerland pretty quickly. But this one, its dial and its movement, and even its place within those 20th anniversary watches, make this watch and its movement a hidden gem. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning about the ultimate in-house movement, the Grand Seiko 9S. If there's another movement you think is important out there, let me know in the comments. See you next time on Hidden Gems.